So one of the oldest debates when it comes to heavy duty 1-ton pickup trucks has always been, do I go gas powered or diesel powered? Now, just a quick background. In front of us right now, we have a 2022 Ford F-350 dually Lariat. So I chose this truck because I really wanted to show you guys in perspective the two sides of the different argument, because both sides are valid, but truly it comes down to your personal preference and the reason why you're going to buy this certain truck. So as I said, this is a dually, it's an F-350. So typically the thing you would use this truck for is towing, hauling things. Maybe you're I don't know, work at a construction site, you always have to haul something big, you have to pull trailers around. But typically dualies are traditionally used for towing. So if you're going to use this to pull a gooseneck trailer with cars, or you're going to throw, I don't know, you're going to tow a trailer full of rocks or whatever, I don't know, whatever the case may be, that's typically why you buy a dually, is because it can handle the extra weight in the back, especially when you strap it down with a, you know, gooseneck. But you also want to get the right motor for it. Now, in terms of today's offerings, I'm going to discuss pretty much just Ford, because that's what we have in front of us. But the other competitors, of course, they do offer their gas and diesel powered variants. Dodge has their 6.4 gas powered, and then their, I believe it's a 6.7 or 6.8, their Cummins turbo diesel, and then Chevrolet has their, you know, gas powered 6.2, and then their diesel 6.6 Duramax. So specifically, we're going to discuss the Ford side of this thing. So what are your two engine options when it comes to, let's say you're buying this exact truck. Let's say you're specking out an F-350 Lariat dually. What are my engine options? Well, standard, when you pick this on the Ford website, standard, this truck comes with the 7.3 gas powered motor. Don't get it confused with the 7.3 legendary diesel motor of the early 2000s. Not that one. This one's a gas powered motor. Now, as I said, it is a standard option to go for that motor. And what it is, as I said, a 7.3 liter push rod V8 gas powered. It makes around 450 horsepower and like 485 pound-feet of torque. So it's definitely not a slouch, but you got to remember, torque is where everything is, especially when you're towing. When you're using vehicles of this caliber and this size, you want as much torque as possible, because you want to haul stuff and you don't want the truck to be, you know, getting bogged down. You don't want to be going up a hill towing a, I don't know, a trailer full of cars, and the truck is revving at like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM because it literally can't pull its own weight. You want something right. Now, with the, as I said, with the gas powered motor, I'm not saying it's a bad engine. I'm just saying that for certain purposes, it may be better to look at this. But let's talk about the gas powered motor. So the 7.3, as I said, 450 horsepower, 485 pound-feet of torque is fantastic when it comes to, I would say, using it as a in-the-city motor. So you're going to use it in the city. Let's say, I don't know, like over there, they're just building some houses. You're going to go work there. You work there, and you use your truck specifically for that. That's great. Buy that kind of truck, and you can use it on the site, on the construction job. You can throw a bunch of stuff in the bed, whether you're going to throw, I don't know, rocks or dirt or whatever, you know, or equipment, tools, that's fine. And you can even tow a trailer behind it with a bunch of other equipment and tools. It'll do that no problem any day of the week. So the 7.3 is great for, as I said, intercity jobs, construction sites or whatever. You start running into issues with it when you're doing state to state long drives, hauling a massive fifth wheel gooseneck trailer with a bunch of cars or whatever you're hauling behind you. Then you start running into issues, because it's already a massive V8 that drinks gas, and you're probably going to be getting like between 10 and 15 miles a gallon anyways when you're hauling stuff with it. Now imagine pulling a bunch of weight behind you. Like, let's say you're pulling like 10,000 pounds or like 8,000 pounds, whatever, behind you on going up a hill. You're probably going to get like 7 or 8 miles a gallon, and it's not very economical, right? I mean, to be fair, you're not buying this truck to be economical, but that truck at that point, you're gonna have to keep making more stops and more stops to get more fuel. If you're gonna be doing that kind of stuff, I would recommend this. This right here is Ford's 6.7 liter turbo diesel power stroke V8. Now, what this thing is, as I said, has been around for about, I want to say, the last 10-11 years, and it's Ford's tried and true diesel. They used to offer a smaller power stroke version, the F-150 3 liter, but we won't talk about that. They discontinued it for a reason. But this motor right here is pretty good. I mean, it's been around for a while. It's proven its worth. It is a good motor. It's solid, and it's proven to go hundreds of thousands of miles. Now, you have two different options when it comes to the turbo diesel. And the first thing you're going to run into when you're picking between 7.3 and the 6.7 is the price range. And of course, this thing is about $9,000 more than the 7.3 is as an option. Now you may be thinking to yourself, $9,000, that's insane. And you're right, that's a lot of money. But then you got to remember to yourself, how much is this going to save you over the long term versus that gas powered V8? That can be something to factor in. But $9,000 gets you the low, I don't want to say low output, but not the crazy high output turbo diesel V8, because for about $3,000 more, for about $12,000, you could get the 6.7 high output motor, which makes about 500 horsepower, which is, you know, whatever, you're like, oh, it's only 50 more than the, you know, than the 7.3. But here's where that one gets you. It makes 1,200 pound-feet of torque. 1,200 pound-feet of torque. That's, I mean, you're never gonna feel like you're pulling anything, because that's a lot of torque. Now, that may be the right thing for you if you're, as I said, doing long road trips, if you're on the highway constantly pulling, if you're, you know, if your job is a transporter, that's probably what you should go for, is this motor right here, because this is what it's built to do, right? Diesels are built to go on long road trips, to be on the highway, cruising, towing. That's the whole point of a diesel Super Duty truck. Now, you may be asking yourself, are the maintenance costs higher on a diesel than the gas? Of course. Diesels are much, much more expensive to maintain than their gas counterparts, because if you go get an oil change, let's say on a 7.3, it's probably going to run you what, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, maybe 70. On this, I think it's like 150, because you have to use specific oil for the diesel. They're not the same oils. You can't just go buy regular oil, AutoZone, and put it in here. You have to use specific oil. And these things are a lot more maintenance heavy because of all the EPA stuff that has been thrown on these trucks. We have the diesel particulate filters, we have all their, you know, emission stuff. These things are high maintenance animals, and I'm not sitting here trying to tell you, oh, don't worry about buying this thing, you're never gonna have any problems with it, because it doesn't matter whether you buy a Ford, a Chevy, or a Dodge, they all have the same emission stuff because the EPA mandates all that stuff. So you have to factor in all the issues that, or the not issues, the maintenance that you're gonna have to throw into this truck. But then you have to ask yourself, how much work am I doing with this truck? Because if you're gonna be constantly towing, as I said, if your job is a transporter and you're transporting vehicles, like let's say you work California to Florida and you're constantly going back and forth, you should absolutely get a diesel, because you're gonna be on the highway constantly, and it's gonna save you in the long term. You know, whether it's with gas mileage or being able to pull a bigger trailer, the diesel is the right thing to do. But if you're in the city, if you're doing small jobs, if you're just pulling a small trailer behind, if you're, you know, working at a construction site, you fill it up with like rocks or equipment or whatever you do, then maybe you should get the 7.3, because honestly, you don't need a diesel for in the city. I mean, it's pointless, right? Unless you're pulling massive loads in the city, I wouldn't recommend buying a diesel, because again, the high maintenance cost and just that massive intro barrier, you know, that $9,000. If you're buying one of these, go ahead and buy a 7.3 if you're not going to use it for any kind of hard work, because there is a lot of people out there that buy Super Duties specifically because they like the truck, not because they're going to use it for work. At that point, you should probably consider going with the gas powered truck, just because it'd be easier to maintain, cheaper on the long run, and whatnot. But in my opinion, I think all these trucks, you should go with diesel. I mean, I just told you guys exactly what the actual financial side would be of it, that why you should consider that. But I'm a diesel truck person. I prefer diesel trucks, and for Super Duties, I think that you should buy a diesel. But again, at the end of the day, it's personal preference. You have to think about what you're going to use it for. You have to factor that in, and you have to factor in the cost, because if you're not going to be doing long road trips, if you're not going to be hauling anything crazy, then financially you probably should go with the gas powered truck, because it'll save you that intro $9,000 and maintenance costs. But if you're, you know, going to be using this all the time, if you're pulling a bunch of loads or whatever, this is probably the right motor for you. But let me know down below, you guys, what you guys think. This argument's been around for the last like 50, 60 years, so I don't think anyone's ever going to put it to rest. It's always going to be gas versus diesel until they eventually eliminate diesels. Then I guess gas would stick around until they finally get rid of that and bring electric, right? Which is probably going to happen. I mean, I hope not, but it probably will. Now, let me know down below, what do you guys prefer? Are you a gas powered Super Duty truck guy, or are you a diesel Super Duty truck guy? or do you just not care and you look for a good deal? Because that's kind of what I do too. I look for good deals. But yeah, let me know down below what you guys think about this truck, and what do you guys think about this argument? Which one are you going for? I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.